It's amazing how life changes according to what you assume it would be. And I'm gonna give you a really good example. And if you are someone who frequently travels, I invite you to use it for your own life. I had I won't say traumatic because I feel it's a big word, but I had not a really pleasant experience last year traveling through Vietnam. It was a trip that it was, I think, about 20 days, and I felt so out of place, and I felt so triggered, and everything felt wrong, and things started to go wrong. One thing led to the other, and everything started to go wrong. And I was feeling overwhelmed, overstimulated. I just wanted to leave. The country is beautiful, but my experience was not really good. And that, of course, happens when you are in an unfamiliar place, in an unfamiliar situation. Of course, the first thing that the brain does is just all the alarms come off, and your brain starts going crazy into the worst case scenarios and to all the things that are going right and that are going wrong, sorry. And you know how it is. You start catastrophizing everything because the brain is wired to look for always the worst case scenarios because it's trying to protect you. So in unfamiliar situations, that's the first thing that it's going to do. But here's the thing. If your perception, like my perception at that time, was that everything was really hard. Like everything that I was trying to do was hard. Communication was hard. Food was hard because I didn't like it. Traveling around was hard. That was I assumed that since the moment that I got there, and that was the exact experience that I had. I needed to have that experience, yes, probably. But that was literally what my brain assumed, and I recognize now that I wasn't able to change that perception during those whole 20 days. So I lived through that perception, I lived through those lenses, and that's the experience that I got. Why I'm bringing this up? Because now I'm in South Africa, and I arrived here a little bit less than a week ago. And it's really different. It's only my second time in Africa. My first time was last year in Egypt, which was another experience for another video. But so it's a really different place. I am from Argentina. I'm used to living in Europe because I've been living there on and off for the last 7-8 years. So of course my perception of the world is quite different, and that's one of the things I love the most about traveling. It gives you all these perspectives. You get to learn how other people live, how other cities, other places work, how people communicate different, how culture is different, food, things, activities to do, like everything. I love that, and I'm such a blessed person to be able to experience all that. And I noticed myself, going back to the perception, I noticed myself after the first 3 days here, getting back into that perception of, maybe this is dangerous. Maybe this is, mostly about dangers. Maybe this is dangerous. I don't know if I can go there. I don't know if I can go alone. I don't know if I should walk through the beach and things like that. And today, it was literally today, and that is why I'm talking about this, because it's really fresh in my mind. Today I woke up and I decided to try a different assumption. I decided to try the assumption that people are genuinely nice and helpful here, and that people like me here. And it might sound silly, I know, it might sound silly. And you might be thinking, what are you talking about? But today I had the best experience since I arrived. In one whole week, my assumption was that everything was mostly dangerous, and I was in that position, and everything that went through my life experience, through my mind, was going through that filter of like, is this dangerous? Maybe this is dangerous, maybe this is not. And today the assumption was, no. People are nice, people are helpful, and people like me. And in just 1 hour this morning, when I decided to go out, I had the best conversation with an Uber driver. I went to the botanical garden, and a woman just come up to me and started talking, and she was like the nicest. She'd been living here for a long time. She started talking to me and telling me about the city, about what to do, about all the things that I can check. My driver back was extremely nice. I went to a restaurant and had an amazing experience, and I started just talking to people. People started just talking to me, picking up conversations, and just having an overly nice time. So this is just to prove me. This was just a little experiment that I wanted to run today to see how true it is, and how, because I know that our perceptions affect everything, affect our life experience as a whole. And today, it really proved that right again. So, what I learned from this is that most of the times when something is going wrong, yes, things might go wrong, bad things can happen, I'm not denying that, but in most cases, the worst thing that happens is the interpretation that we give it through our brains, and not the thing itself. The thing itself normally is not that bad, but the whole interpretation, the whole narrative, the whole story that we get going on in our heads about what happened, what it means, and what it means about me, about the world, about them, about everything, that is always way worse than the situation itself. So this is something that for me it's gonna help me like massively, especially while traveling, but in everything. If you assume the worst, and sometimes I hear people saying this time and time again, and I disagree so much, that if you assume the worst, you might get pleasantly surprised. I cannot disagree more with that statement. I feel if you assume the worst, you are calling in the worst. If you're assuming the worst, you are hoping for the worst to happen. So then when it happens, you can say, I was right. What's the point? What if we start assuming good things? What if we start assuming the best in people? And yes, from time to time, we'll get disappointed. That's part of life. From time to time, people won't live up to our expectations. From time to time, we will assume the best, and that's not what we're going to get. But isn't it better to go through life assuming that things are going to work out for you, assuming that things are mainly positive, that things are mainly good, that there is good in any situation, instead of assuming the worst and trying to prove yourself right? Because I deeply believe that whether you assume something positive or something negative, you are calling that in. You are putting that intention, you are putting that thought behind it. So then when it happens, when you assume the worst and it happens, there's no one else to blame but your own perception. So yes, this was like a little experiment that I ran today, and it's gonna definitely help me navigate the whole trip and life in general. So I definitely invite you to try it out, to start assuming the best in people, the best in the situation, to start assuming that the best scenario can actually happen instead of the worst, to start overthinking about what the best thing could be, what the best scenario could be. What if things work out? What if people are nice and helpful? What if people like me and I can have a great day? What if I can feel safe in this place? What if I turned my perception into the good instead of looking at what can go wrong all the time. And see what happened. Try it out. Don't trust me if you want. Just try it out for yourself and let me know in the comments how your little experiments went. See you around.